Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Road to GT3. Alright guys, so in this episode we're going to be trying to get as much of the car together. We are rushing as fast as we can to try and make the next round. We're going to be putting on the front of the car, front clip, headlights, everything, intercooler, radiators, the rear of the car, and just trying to get as much of this wiring finished off. The fuel tanks on its final stages, that'll be all finished up, carbon covers on and finished, and then hopefully we can get the dash in today as well and really start to finish the car off.
At the moment, just pulling apart some of the upright assembly pieces, just getting them out of the way. We need to get the drive shafts in, so pulling out all of the old grease from either side, just getting all of that clean, getting all the old grease out, putting fresh grease in there. We'll do the same thing to the drive shafts as well, inspect them at the same time, make sure everything's okay, and then once we're all lubricated and in position, we can chuck the drive shafts in, put all the zip ties on, and we can pretty much mark that section of the car done.
So I am going around to each of the wheels and hooking up the brake lines that we've run through the car. So now finally attaching them to each wheel and also running the electrical lines from the suspension and also for the ABS lines off the brakes as well. Alright, so Jesse has just finished sanding back, restoring, clear coating and making our rear wing look absolutely perfect. So we're going to put the rear grills into the rear bar and then install the rear bar and then put on a brand new looking rear wing.
So on the time lapse today, you'll notice I'm standing at the computer a lot. And that's because as we put everything back together, we're doing it for the first time and having to figure out where everything goes. And I'm using the manuals and the instruction diagrams that we have to make sure that everything's going in the right place. This is great for when you go to the engine bay and you find a hose that seems to be connected to something but you have no idea what it is, where it's going. These show us what it is and where it needs to go.
Alright, so we've just finished bolting up the exhaust to the back of the engine. They come along the side of the car, just behind the front wheel and all the way down the side here. This is just held up by zip ties at the moment, but there's a couple more brackets that will go along the side here. And then there is a big carbon fiber piece that goes all the way along it that contains the exhaust. So now the engine's in, we're just starting to put on a few of the accessories and bolt up the things that can't be on the engine when it goes in. So we're just finishing up bolting on the power steering, some of the power steering lines up to the reservoirs that we've already put in so that we can get everything that's on the front of the engine done before we put the front clip in and the radiator and everything, because then once that's on, it's really hard to get to. So we're finally finished on the fuel tank. This one's taken us a little bit of time because obviously last time the car was run, the tank was on the other side, so we had to move everything for the next round and then getting all the covers onto it and all the wiring to it. So it is finally done, looks all pretty, is all sealed, and we can move on to the next thing. Okay, so for today we got some overnight parts from Sydney.
we can overnight parts from Sydney. We'll call Tuning Fork and get it. Yeah, nah.
Still coming from Nismo Japan, but we just needed a few things, and there was some stuff available up in Sydney. So we got a new window trim in red, so we'll repaint that before, and then it'll get wrapped over the top of anyway. It does actually share, even though the GT3 has a lot of parts that aren't street parts, simple things like window trims and stuff are really just the R35 GTR street cars, so we can get these off wrecked cars. Okay, so that is our new front clip, brand new. So Just Jap had a brand new one in stock, straight from Nissan. Now, the GT3 one of this is actually slightly different. We don't have any of this section in the middle. So because our radiator and intercoolers and everything like that don't work with this, we need to, unfortunately, get this brand new part and cut it up. So just because there was a weight from Japan on these, it was just easier to get a street one, because that's all they simply do at Nismo, is cut up one of these. So the quickest way was buy a stock one, and we're going to cut it up to make it work with the GT3. And just a quick thanks to Just Jap and Evolution Racing Spares for getting these pretty much overnight straight to us so we can get them on this weekend. Alright, so as you can see on the GT3 car, all of this is in the way. So we've got our intercooler piping going through, we're going to have our radiator here, we've got brake ducting, cooling pipes going through here, so all of this does need to just get quickly cut out because it just does not suit the GT3 car. Alright, so we're just bolting in, we've done the front rad, headlights, quarter panels, so now we're going to be putting the radiator in, and then once that's in, the intercoolers in front of it, and plumbing up the radiator itself, and getting the rest of the intercooler pipes through as well. So yeah, really just bolting the front up.
Right now we're just getting the alignment in a somewhat maneuverable position. We bolted everything up, and right now we've just got to get everything so that it can roll around straight. And once we actually have everything bolted up, all the fluids in and everything of that sorts, we can align it properly, get all the proper alignment tools in place, everything measured correctly. But now we just need it to move straight. So that's where we're at.
Alright, so I'm just going to quickly go through what we've done over the last couple of hours. So we're lining in most of the wiring as quick as we can, so then we can finally install the dash. I'm super excited to get that in. So we've got to get all the wiring in most of the right spots, so that we don't have to move too much underneath the dash, but it will all be in the right areas. We'll slam that in and start to look like the inside of a real car. Moving along, we've put in the window trim up there. We've finally installed our quarters properly. They're both bolted on and finished. We've installed both our headlights, so they're in now. We've installed the front radiator that goes inside that after cutting it and modifying it. We've also installed our intercoolers, half piped them up. We've just got to finish off piping them. We're running what's left of the wiring through to the engine bay, to the headlights and everything like that needed to be done. So we're getting a lot done. We're nearly getting the front ready to be bolted on.
So I've been rolling around on the floor replacing the oil cooler lines for the gearbox. We wanted to make sure it was all new rubber and fittings under there, so we replaced it all. While I was doing that, Ben was able to install some of the brake cooling ducts in the wheel wells for the rear brakes as well as for the gearbox cooling itself. So now that the gearbox cooling is all finished off, we can move on to inside the car and keep working away at the loom and hopefully get the dash in.
Alright, so that's us done for another episode. It's late at night, we're done for the day. So most of the front's on, the interior is finally starting to go in because most of the wiring is lined up. So yeah, we've got heaps done today and we'll be back for another big session on the next one.